Good morning. I was going to wait a little bit before I shared anything that I'm experiencing this morning. So I just, there's no coincidences why all of a sudden these things get addressed because they are important. Because I'll show you something. See that on my arm right there? That little bump. Okay, what happens, I can put honey on that and it has never completely healed. Okay, and the reason for that is pressure, right? You know what a vacuum chamber is and PSI, and the difference between ascending spirits and descending spirits, and what an echo chamber is with sound and light, right? So because I do polarity integration work, I realize that's a major transmutation job, which basically means kicking out all the bad codes that are represented by what the codes do and what the codes fire in order to produce a visual information response that we see on the visible light spectrum, like what you just saw. That's pressure related, okay? Now, the reason that's important is I knew this as a child because I realized when I was 4 years of age, I was on a spiritual battlefield, which is an energy battlefield, which is an electrical war. Okay, so now we're into spiral currents, AC/DC, right? Okay, so here I am. I'm being diagnosed back in the early, 1963, 64. I'm just a young teenager full of energy, full of love, right? And I'm diagnosed by my family doctor that you have reactive hypertension, which means your physical body between the ascending and descending spirals, between one pole and the other pole, is reacting with pressure. Now we're into thermal gradients. Now we're back into the minus/the plus and the simple arithmetic calculator between the poles. Photons kicking out electrons and photosynthesis, right? So as I mentioned before, I hear pressure hissing all the time. It's like being inside of an air compressor, right? Between high pressure, low pressure, high pressure, low pressure, right? So I realize that if I'm experiencing something that I'm not supposed to be experiencing, so when your water worlds are in a state of peace, which you're in a balance, which means the poles are in the balance, which means now we're back into acid and alkaline, right? When the water worlds are experiencing a state of eternal peace and living spirit integrated with your soul, because you're experiencing so much love in your heart that you're giving to others, particularly when you ground your bare feet to the rock, then it's pretty simple to understand what a drive motor is, which is magnetic. A magnetic drive motor. Well, imagine that you're running the highest speed drive motor there is in the entire universe of all creation, because you're experiencing a love vibration that experiences what love is. It goes on forever, kicking out electrons, which means that drive motor is what protects the universe, which is HU Harmonic Universe 1. That's known as the tribal template. That's known as the bands, which are the DNA codes, which is the original template, right, that are based on those codes. And when all those codes fire, what happens? Now you're running a higher drive motor because you're burning off all the bad goo codes that were meant to do what? Alter the consciousness, alter the codes, you alter the software. Alter the software, now the consciousness represented by the soul is experiencing the difference between what it knows that it is and what it's not supposed to experience on the visible light spectrum. So you realize that a lot of changes are taking place as a result of a lot of changes that are happening energetically, because more people are waking up and experiencing a higher vibrational shift in their energy. That means that codes are now firing that they weren't experiencing before, which is higher consciousness. As the higher consciousness goes up, we realize that the world that we were once living in doesn't serve us anymore to build and experience thriving communities with energy that is thriving. So you can observe that as the observed on the visible light spectrum when you're experiencing birds that are chirping like I did yesterday. The sun is out. Thank you for your energy. And you realize that you're experiencing more people with a happy face because their energy is up. their energy is up. So when we get to the balance of the water worlds, which are the cell membranes, when they're experiencing water, which is consciousness, which is memory, to remember who you are, which is what love is, that goes on forever, you realize the center point of creation upon which love is the energy that we use to create and thus experience in our magnetic drive mirror the worlds we experience, which is what love is. That's where we're going, because that's who we are, huh? Some more people are waking up and realizing, yeah, I love you all. Be good to yourselves.